Ukraine forces push forward and reclaim Kotlyne region. In a bold and coordinated assault, Ukrainian forces have successfully reclaimed the Kotlyne region, breaking through Russian defenses in a powerful shock operation. With Russian forces critically undermanned and understrength, elite Ukrainian assault units capitalized on these weaknesses to maximum effect. The primary objective of the Ukrainian forces in this area was to retake control of the settlement of Kotlyne. The Russians had been using Kotlyne as a strategic point to cut off the main supply road leading into Pokrovsk. By reclaiming Kotlyne, the Ukrainians not only forced the Russians to halt their flanking operations, but also restored their ground lines of communication with Ukrainian forces in Udakny. Additionally, this move effectively encircled Russian troops in the industrial zone of Kotlyne. To achieve this goal, the Ukrainians executed a multi-phase ground assault operation. The plan began with intense drone strikes and artillery shelling to suppress Russian forces in Kotlyne, preventing them from maintaining their defenses and blocking reinforcements. Following this, Ukrainian special forces and paratroopers launched a combined assault to clear the village of Russian troops. A key advantage for the Ukrainian forces was their prior dismantling of the outer perimeter of Russian defenses around Kotlyne through several special forces raids. Moreover, relentless Ukrainian drone and artillery strikes on Russian logistics had left frontline Russian forces increasingly undermanned and understrength. Russian forces in Kotlyne were reduced to a platoon-sized contingent of just 40 to 50 soldiers, roughly a quarter of the manpower needed to mount an effective defense. Compounding their difficulties, Russian troops could only reach Kotlyne on foot, leaving them unable to reinforce their positions with heavy weapons. As a result, the Russian soldiers in Kotlyne were dangerously outmatched. However, the Russians maintained control over the industrial zone of Kotlyne, which provided them with powerful defensive positions. Recognizing that a direct assault on these facilities would be costly, Ukrainian commanders devised a strategy to starve out the Russians instead. Combat footage from the area reveals the intensity of the Ukrainian counterattack. The operation began with relentless drone and artillery strikes on Russian positions in a compound guarding the entrance to Kotlyne. Once Russian firing positions were dismantled, Ukrainian special forces from the 3rd Regiment conducted thunder run assaults to sow further chaos within the compound. Using speed and shock tactics, the Ukrainians overwhelmed the remaining Russian defenders. They fired .50 caliber machine guns through building walls as if they were paper, driving deep into the Russian rear. This disrupted enemy cohesion and inflicted heavy casualties as Russian troops desperately tried to mount a defense.
Внимание! Выстрел!
These thunder runs left the Russians unable to organize a coordinated resistance against the main Ukrainian force. This allowed elite airborne units from the 25th Brigade to launch a ground assault and capture the village. The Ukrainian paratroopers leveraged the chaos created by the special forces, clearing remaining Russian positions in intense house-to-house combat. Throughout the operation, Ukrainian heavy drones circled the town, providing direct fire support with drone-dropped grenades. The final phase of the operation saw the 425th Assault Battalion clearing the last remaining Russian positions in Kotlyne. These consisted of dugouts and trench networks in the tree lines surrounding the settlement, consolidating Ukrainian control over the village. Additional footage highlights the bravery of Ukrainian operators from the 130th Skala Battalion. In one instance, 5 Ukrainian soldiers managed to corner 10 Russian troops in a dugout. Using grenades and small arms fire, the Ukrainians pinned down the Russians, surrounded the position, and neutralized 8 soldiers, while capturing 2 as prisoners. By the end of the operation, Ukrainian forces had successfully recaptured the northern part of Kotlyne. They are now actively working to clear the dense tree belt along the railway line to the south. This further tightens the already narrow corridor to the Russian-held industrial zone, effectively trapping Russian forces in a pocket. While Russian commanders are likely to attempt a counteroffensive to push back the Ukrainians, their efforts continue to be hampered by Ukrainian disruption strikes in the Russian rear.
А в піхоті нема машини? Давай, Кутуля, гай!
Застрял, блядь! Пошли, двойка пошла! Чисти, чисти, чисти! Бесит!
Вот радійка.
Це підерська.
Да. Слухайте радійку.
Блядь, дай спуститься. Ні, там нормально.
Ти хуйово так зробив. Опа. Водичка.